So Anton, you're the head of product planning for Subaru Canada.
That's right.
So you plan all of these cars years in advance.
Correct.
So the car we're sitting is the 2016 Crosstrek. When did you start working on this one, for example?
About 3-4 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
So you know, you can see into the future.
Yes, but I can't say what I see, but I can see. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you probably see in your future, there's no end to the number of crossovers and SUVs that can enter the marketplace. What are the projections on Subaru's part for the marketplace overall? Because in Canada, compact cars were king, but that seems to be fading, and now it's crossovers.
Yeah, absolutely. Like compact cars are starting to drop. We notice compact SUVs like, Forester and those types of vehicles are going up, but the real segment that's taking everybody by storm and shocking everyone is really the subcompact SUV segment. So things like, where the Crosstrek can potentially compete.
So this vehicle is unique. Now, but before we get into the size and everything, XV Crosstrek, XV is gone. So I guess XV stood for crossover vehicle.
Correct, yeah. Still called that in other world markets. They call it just straight up XV in Japan and other markets. But in North America, we found people were just calling it Crosstrek anyway and dropping that. It was kind of like when we had B9 Tribeca. No one called it B9. So
do you still have that car?
No.
Oh. You made your own joke. No, but remember when the XV Crosstrek came out, I thought it would just get called XV, but it went the other way. It's just Crosstrek now.
That's right.
All right, now let's get into what this is and how it kind of competes. So you have this new crop of young vehicles that are in the marketplace. I'll name them because you might not want to. You've got the HR-V from Honda. You've got the CX-3 from Mazda. You've got the Renegade from Jeep. This sort of subcompact crossover vehicle, and they're starting to sell quite well. So this sort of fits between your traditional Forester size and those smaller vehicles, right? And that's really why you think it's going to play well, because it's different.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody wants a traditional SUV, kind of like a Forester CR-V, that type of thing, because it has a certain look and it has a great functionality, but some people may not want that. But subcompact SUVs, some of them are pretty small, especially when you open up that rear hatch area.
Yeah, I'll say it. The CX-3, the Mazda is really tight in the back.
Can be, yeah. And so we think that with this vehicle, it's slightly bigger than a subcompact SUV in terms of interior space, especially front legroom. Like this car has more legroom than many compact SUVs. So we think based on passenger comfort, this would be a good choice.
And you've done a lot of things really well with the Impreza that this is based on, like big windows, big doors, easy to get in and out of, lower dash, bigger window when you changed it a couple of years ago. So how is this different than the Impreza? Because it's basically the outbacked version of that, right?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, first of all, it has 220 millimeters of ground clearance, so it's much higher. The suspension tuning is a little bit different. The interior pieces are different, of course, the exterior. But
the overall dimensions
are the same.
Wheelbase is the same?
Wheelbase is a tad shorter because it's been raised. But in terms of driving feel, it is fairly different. We just find a lot of people don't really compare them because they want a crossover or they want a car, and so we don't see a lot of
but don't you think it's really kind of you're getting the same engine, same transmission, same all-wheel drive system. All you're really getting is a bit more ride height and a bit of that cladding on the outside.
You are, and surprisingly most people think this is much bigger, even though it's the same size.
I was at the dealer where we get your cars to test drive, and I was talking to the general manager there, and he says people are adamant when you say, no, it's really the same car, just with different execution, and they say, no, it's way bigger.
That's correct, and it's just that high off the ground, feeling, and that's what you find. I think that's why subcompact SUVs are taking off, because even though some of them are very tiny vehicles, but people, it's off the ground, it's got to be bigger. But, the way we are positioning this car is urban adventures, and by urban adventures or active lifestyle, I don't mean throwing on the Lululemon pants and power walking to Starbucks, right? And ordering
my advice.
Kale salad.
Hold
the dressing.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody said people who eat kale just gives them a license to be arrogant.
Hey, you know what? We like kale eaters too, but whatever. It's all good. But this is the kind of car that you can actually seriously go do something with. Not that everybody would, but with the 220 millimeters of ground clearance, symmetrical, full-time all-wheel drive, you can actually put this car into some really gnarly conditions that could surprise you in terms of what it can do. And so we find most of the buyers that buy this car, whether, as you pointed out, whether they're young or old, these are people that usually live in the city, but they go out of the city and do things with their vehicle.
So cottages and skiing and that sort of stuff, right? All right. Now, Subaru as a brand where are the why buys? Like, I would think that all-wheel drive is pretty high. I would think Japanese is high.
Yep.
I would think that dependability resale is high. But safety is something that Subaru's kind of become synonymous with as well. So how do you fall, like, where does this stuff fall?
Well, okay, at Subaru, you know, we talk a lot about EyeSight, which is our preventative safety technology.
Yeah, this one doesn't have it, but others do, yeah.
That's right. And so we have one system, and one of the things we're proud of is that, you know, we know other competitors are kind of putting top safety systems on the high-end vehicles, and there's kind of like some sort of dumbed-down version or not the full package as you get lower. So we don't believe in that. We have the same EyeSight system on all the vehicles. So Crosstrek starts at just under 25,000. There's 2 different versions that you can get EyeSight on, and it's the exact same EyeSight you would have on the top of the line, you know, 3.6 Outback. EyeSight's what's really taken off, like surprisingly even to us. So Crosstreck's sitting over 20%. Some of our other models are 50%. So people are really seeing the value. You know, they understand what IIHS means. You know, top safety pick plus, and having that superior rating for the crash prevention. And it's once they drive it, like we've sent some dealer demonstration kits, and you get a customer behind the wheel, and they say, "Oh, you know what? Now I get it." Like, there's going to be that one time, and everybody's going to have that one time where you weren't looking and you weren't paying attention, and that's when it's going to save you.
It goes off. I have all of these different test cars to drive, and a lot of them have similar kinds of systems, but you don't realize how often you're taking your eyes off to change the radio, fumbling for something in the car, you know, and the reality is, it's because people are farting around with their phone. Like, let's call it what it is. These companies have put these systems in. If you're not going to pay attention, the car will always be paying attention.
Yeah, and a lot of companies have something like that where the car beeps at you. Ours beeps and then it stops.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, so power. Now, I think this car could use a little more power, 148 horsepower. Now, I do say, because with the continuously variable transmission, you've got a wider ratio of gear, the wider ratio, I should say, not gears, but a wider ratio. So initial tip in on the throttle off a light, it's quite crisp. It jets away. It's sometimes in that sort of mid-range passing, going up a hill kind of thing. Sometimes it feels like it. I would call the power in this car adequate.
Okay.
But you know, a little more jam would be better. Have you ever thought of offering a turbo version of this? Now, you can see into the future, so you know.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. You do know.
But I can't say. No, I mean, one of the big things for this vehicle, so like if you want a bit more power, you know, there's a Forester for that. This was really designed around fuel economy. So like, you know, like I said, it came out in 2013, but if you look at the fuel economy numbers of this car, especially on the highway, we're still right at the top, and we have full-time all-wheel drive. And that's something our customers have said. You know, of course, everybody wants more power. Everybody also wants more fuel economy. So, but one of the things people are surprised about with this vehicle is the amount of fuel economy they can get. And that seems to be what's winning out in terms of what customers want.
Another why buy, right? Good fuel economy. Right. So the thing is, yesterday we had a big, you know, I think about 3-hour drive yesterday. And so some of it was cruising on the highway. A lot of it was sitting, stop and go driving. And at the end of it, it was 8 liters per 100 kilometers. And that was after 3 hours of driving. And I thought that was really damn good.
Yeah, and that's real world. And I mean, I'm sure you guys weren't, you know, just feathering the throttle.
No, we were hitting it pretty good. So, so I think I would agree with you. Now, you changed some of the stuff with the head unit. I have been on record as saying I think Subaru's head units in the past have been clunky. Like, I don't like the audio settings on this. You have presets. Okay. You know, like you have like dynamic bass and you know, all these different, instead of being able to do the good old bass and treble settings.
It's a graphic equalizer.
It's a graphic equalizer. Yeah. It's clumsy, right? In my opinion. So you're getting better with this stuff. I mean, you don't have the top of the line unit you have now in WRX in this car, right?
We do, actually. It's the same. There's 2 units. There's
two, right? Yeah.
6.2 inch, which is a touchscreen, you know, color touchscreen. It has Starlink, so that's like, you know, plug in, you download the app and you can do AHA and you know, Google Calendar and a couple things like that. And then we have a 7-inch audio that is the capacitive touchscreen and with navigation. And
that one's better.
Yes, I mean it's the higher end version. We've added some Sirius XM buffering features. You know, tune start and that kind of instant replay if you miss.
So if you can back the song up.
You can back the song up. You can skip ahead. So and you can pick, say, up to 5 stations where you're driving. If you're driving for half an hour, you now have a bank of 5 stations and all the songs for the last 30 minutes. You can go forward and backwards.
Oh, that's great. And I'm sure you've got some new things up your sleeve as well. So it's good times at Subaru.
It is. And you know what? When Crosstrek came out, it had the highest conquest of any Subaru vehicle. So what that meant was we had an entire pile of new customers come into our brand for the first time. And then they stayed. So now we have some of the highest loyalty in the compact SUV segment. So it means we got these new people, they stayed, which is why our market share went up. And that's why our sales are up. So we're getting people and we're keeping them. So Yeah, I mean it's a great situation to be in. It's, you know, we're cautiously optimistic. You know, you don't want to get into a position where you know you're selling everything and you can kind of be complacent. So we're selling everything we can build. But we're really
are you producing more capacity?
We are searching out to get more capacity.
Subaru as a brand, who do you cross shop, or who do people cross shop you with? Is it just other Japanese brands typically?
Demographic wise, you could say we're very similar to Volkswagen. So I mean, in terms of you know, slightly higher income, you know, education levels. So we compete with kind of them, and then yes, you're right. The other Japanese brands are the main ones. But interesting enough, we've seen you know, some.
So someone will shop for a Golf and for an Impreza.
That we see that a lot, and we see Focus. So Ford is a big one too in terms of domestic.
It's a very good car, the Focus.
Yeah.
All right. So the reason. It's funny you bring up Volkswagen, because they're coming next year with an outbacked, I'll call it that, version of their Golf wagon, the sport wagon. Same thing. Raise it up by 20 millimeters, put cladding on it, provide all-wheel drive now. So they're going to have all-wheel drive in their mainline cars.
Okay.
So the Golf sport wagon, and that's coming in the fall of 2016. We won't get into the whole diesel thing.
Are they going to call it the Outback?
No, they're calling it the All-Track.
Oh, okay.
And I've had a chance to drive it in Europe. So that is going to be a direct competitor with a car like this. You've got, as you mentioned, the demographics are similar,
Yep.
income levels are similar. There's sort of a little bit outside the norm kind of people that want to buy something a little different. So that's going to be interesting.
It will be. I mean, we welcome the competition. I mean,
No, you don't. You don't want the competition.
no, you know what? There's lots of good choices out there, but you know, we'll always say, you know, try out the Subaru, see what you think. And what we tend to find is, you know, when people actually get behind the wheel, that's when we sell the car, usually right away, because there's some sort of feeling of solidity, just a driving feeling that you know, people recognize. And you don't have to be an enthusiast to feel it. You can be, you know, anyone. You kind of, there's a certain feel to a Subaru, and that tends to be what tips the scales, especially when they get behind the wheel.
And that's what they would say about their cars.
Hey, you know what? Bring it.
Bring it on. All right,
Yeah.
Anton, thanks for your time. And we'll meet you at the next circus.
Okay, thanks very much. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe. To watch the full-length review of the Subaru Crosstrek, click the picture on the left.